Servus Freunde, my name is Jimmy Cage and Oppenheimer is of course the newest film written and directed by Christopher Nolan. An epic 3-hour-long biographical historical thriller based on the 2005 biography American Prometheus, about the life of the American scientist J. Robert Oppenheimer and the development of the atomic bomb. Starring Cillian Murphy in his first leading role for Nolan as the titular Oppenheimer and a giant ensemble cast, all portraying actual historical figures. Nolan has created an intense and gripping biopic that got me right from the start and never let me go until its shattering conclusion. Right now, it's hard for me to find the right words. I have just seen it and I'm still pretty overwhelmed. The 180 minutes were flying by, and 1/3 into the film I was thinking to myself that this is the kind of material and approach that I could probably watch for hours, because the movie deals with a part of history that's deeply fascinating and deeply frightening. Something that without any chance of turning back has changed the course of the world. There's a rather fun moment in the movie where Matt Damon's character is angrily screaming at a scientist that this is the most important thing to ever happen in the history of the world. And he's not wrong. And Nolan succeeds in bringing that importance, that gravitas, that weight to his film and to its central character. Oppenheimer is a film that deals with big things, a film that's about life and death, the end of the world stuff, and yet it's also a film that almost entirely consists of just dialogues. This isn't an action film like almost all of Nolan's previous films. It's a biopic, an historical drama, and yet it's executed like a thriller. Almost the entire film feels like a montage that jumps between different points in time, different places, different characters, even between black and white and color. The driving, but also very emotional and all-consuming score by Ludwig Göransson is almost ever present. It's the kind of filmic presentation that can get on my nerves, that can become too obtrusive, too heavy-handed and forced. But in the right hands, it can also be this super intense filmic experience, and Oppenheimer has the substance to back it up. Honestly, I felt this to be a beautiful motion picture. It's grand in scale and yet also very intimate and human. This seemingly free-flowing style initially reminded me of the work of Terrence Malick, but as the movie progresses and this thriller element becomes clearer, it's of course Nolan through and through, with the intense emotional callbacks, the overlaying of different points in time, the epic nature of the narrative. I don't know how accurate the film is to real life, but I assume pretty much, or at least enough. Of course it's very much dramatized, but it also feels very real. Minus maybe 1 or 2 moments in which certain characters are saying something that's maybe a bit too on the nose. But Nolan is a filmmaker who very much grounds his films. I mean, he's the one who made Batman at least semi-believably taking place in the real world. Oppenheimer feels like a window into this very specific time and place, but told in the most intense and Nolan-like way. It's intense and it gave me that edge of your seat feeling, and that for pretty much the entire 3-hour runtime. It's structured and told in a way that creates all these feelings of urgency and dread. There's a lot going on at the same time. There are no clear historical dates put on screen, but the time period covered in the movie ranges from Oppenheimer's days at the university, to him working as head of the Manhattan Project, to years after the war, when America was about to enter the Cold War with the Soviet Union, and Oppenheimer being accused of having sympathies for and close connections to communist forces. There's also the marriage to his wife Kitty, played by Emily Blunt, and the affair with Jean Tatlock, played by Florence Pugh. And then there are dozens of other important characters or personalities that are important in his life and important in how they shaped history. Oppenheimer is a dense film, and yet it's also a clear film that makes it rather easy to get absorbed into its story, characters and themes, provided that the audience knows at least the very essentials of world history. I felt Nolan does a terrific job in getting the audience hooked and engaged throughout. He gives us enough information and he omits enough information. And the way both these aspects are handled and balanced is done in a pretty flawless and masterful way that not only keeps the tension super high throughout, but also the entertainment factor. It's done with so much cinematic panache. From the beautiful cinematography by Hoytje van Hoytema to the already mentioned driving score by Ludwig Göransson, especially combined with the strong editing by Jennifer Lame. Throughout the 3-hour runtime, you always have these manifold sources of tension and conflict that keep the level of engagement and intensity super high. World War II is unfolding in the background. The clock is ticking because the Germans are working on the bomb themselves. You have all these different scientists that bring their personalities to the table. There are conflicts between science and politics, between science and the military, and of course the heavy moral burden that comes with their work. What does their invention mean for the world? They have to think about the immediate present, the threat by Nazi Germany, but they also have to think about what's coming next. What's with Russia? In one time frame covered here, the USA and Russia are still allies, even if it's really more of a necessity. And in one time frame, they are already about to enter the Cold War. And the development of the bomb itself also of course outlived Nazi Germany. So that imperative to beat the Nazis to it went away. There was of course still Japan, but what is the best way of continuing or ending that war? Even with us fully knowing how things went, the intensity is still so high and it's all perfectly condensed in the character of Oppenheimer himself. The film is constantly juggling these several areas of conflict, and Cillian Murphy perfectly embodies this man who became a key figure in the history of mankind. At one point, Benny Safdie's character tells him that he was never really able to know what he really stands for or what he wants to achieve. But that's not because the character is not well written or the actual person didn't think about it, but because it is such a complex and delicate problem. And I feel the movie is doing a fantastic job exploring his struggle and the almost impossible burden that comes with it. It's also doing a marvelous job depicting the fascination and awe that comes with it. That human beings are able to understand and master the world and its mechanics to such a degree that they are able to destroy everything. It's all so scary, and at the same time it's deeply fascinating or even addictive to watch people like these scientists who are so good at their job. And this brings me to another absolute strong point of the movie. Oppenheimer is a real actor's movie. A film that's just great to watch because all of these amazing performances. It's a film that unites so many talented and charismatic people on screen, and to watch them interact with each other, bring their characters to life, it's just so much fun. The cast of Oppenheimer has to be one of the very best in recent years, and I don't want to name too many names because I'm pretty sure most audience members won't even know who is all in this. But Emily Blunt, Matt Damon, Florence Pugh, Robert Downey Jr. or Josh Hartnett, they were all adding something to the table, and even if some characters are only there for a few minutes total, they still feel alive and you still feel that they are filling some pieces of the puzzle. Like I said, it's a dialogue movie that consists almost entirely of just people talking, only that these people are the very best of their craft and that these scenes are shot, arranged and scored in the most thrilling way. When it comes to the actual bomb, it's depicted in a spectacular way, but thankfully one that makes you frightened or terrified of what horror man has created here. And it was created by man, by human beings who are complicated and driven by all kinds of different thoughts and feelings, and of course circumstances as well. It's a film about the individual and the community or society. The movie doesn't portray Oppenheimer as a hero, nor does it portray him as a villain, and the invention of something as world-changing as the atom bomb almost doesn't allow to judge him really. But it's this magnitude and horror that the movie captures so well, while at the same time dealing with very almost basic human emotions and pitfalls. I don't know, it's really rather difficult for me to find the right words after just this one screening. But what I can say is that Oppenheimer just really worked for me. The time flew by, I could have watched for even longer. The atmosphere is so dense, the score is haunting and beautiful at the same time, the characters and performances are so alive, the themes are so well and tightly interwoven with our protagonist, and the filmmaking is masterful. Some elements are actually quite simple, but they are nevertheless so effective. Like the slow but steady filling of 2 glass bulbs with little marbles, how the bomb is put together piece by piece, or how Nolan uses sound in these 2 extremes, almost total silence and then with full force. With its subject matter, it's also a dark and super serious film, and yet there's a fun element or fun elements in there as well, be it from the performances, some dialogues, or just the absurdity of it all. Right now, this ranks among Nolan's best for me. So in German I'd say, wie erwartet fährt Christopher Nolan in Oppenheimer große Geschütze auf. Eine emotionale und brachiale, epische und intime Charakterstudie, die großartig unterhält und gleichzeitig die völlig wahnwitzige Dimension menschlichen Handelns aufzeigt. I give Oppenheimer 9 out of 10. It's more like 8.5, but I don't do that. Alright, that's it like always. Comment below and let me know what you think about Oppenheimer. You can hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and also on Patreon, simply at TheJimmyCage. And if you enjoyed this episode, please give me a thumbs up, share, subscribe, whatever you like. And make sure you hit that bell for all I have to tell.